What up, gangsters? Today I'm going to be giving my grades for every NFL team this past season. We're going all the way from potentially A+ and maybe an F, F-. These are my thoughts. I'm by no means an expert, but let me know what y'all think. And if y'all like this kind of content, please comment, like, and subscribe. All right, we're starting the NFC East with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm giving them a B-. Now with Philly, yes, they did win the division and won 11 games, but this team did not reach expectations, and they could go even potentially lower, but if you win your division, you're at least in the B's in my mind. Now, obviously, their offense completely fluttered at times, and Jalen Hurts looked like complete ass at some points, but their offensive line was injured a lot of the year. Landon Dickerson had a down year, and Lane Johnson did miss a lot of games. Their defense, though, was still elite. Jahad Campbell looked great. Cooper DeJean looked great. And if Hurts could figure out his play, they could easily make another run. And I mean, Hurts still had 33 touchdowns to 6 interceptions and almost 4,000 passing yards. I feel like we act like this guy had backup-level quarterback play this year. He was still solid statistically. But overall, again, yeah, this team, they just didn't meet the expectations after winning the Super Bowl the year prior. Next up, we got the Cowboys, who went 7-9-1. They had a badass offense, but that defense was Swiss fucking cheese. I'm going to give the Cowboys a C. Their over-under was 7.5 going into the year, so they kind of met on par with the expectations they were given. Obviously, this team, their offense looked electric at times. Pickens fit in well. Their run game got going. We saw a renaissance from Javonte Williams, and it looks like they got their guy in Brian Schottenheimer, which is a huge plus because we kind of weren't sure going into this year what that guy was going to look like. But obviously, the problem with this team was the defense and Matt Eberflus and Kenneth Murray, who might be the worst linebacker I've ever seen in my life. The Trayvon Diggs experiment also completely flamed out. Deron Bland got cooked on the outside, and they had no real pass rushers after the Micah Parsons trade. So all in all, this team wasn't expected to be sexy by any means, but they did lower down their hype a little bit, but it's just a C. Nothing great, nothing too bad. Next up, we got the Washington Commanders, who went 5-12, and I'm giving these boys a D. Their offense ranked 22nd. Their defense ranked 27th. The one silver lining, this team had a top 5 rushing offense with a bag of dicks at running back. If you want to say Chris Rodriguez is a good player, by all means go for it, but I'm not going to put him in that category. Now, obviously, Jaden Daniels was hurt a lot of the year, and that was the main reason to this team's problems. Terry McLaurin couldn't stay healthy either, but the running game got going. The offensive line was okay, and the defense was abysmal. I know they had some injuries, but from a personnel perspective, this team really didn't have the talent. They did overshoot their hand last year, making the NFC Championship game. Last team in the NFC East, we got the New York Football Giants, and I'm giving them a C-. Now, Jackson Dart is the only reason why this team is in the C tier. But I will give them this. They had the hardest schedule in the NFL. I don't know how the hell the NFL drew that one up, but New York did. Neighbors and Scadaboo both went down. But Wan'Dale Robinson at least established himself as a nice number 2 option, although they might lose him in free agency this year. Brian Burns was elite. He had 16.5 sacks. Abdul Carter was up and down, but he was a monster late in the year with 3.5 sacks in 5 games. And Kayvon Thibodeau's probably a bust. He missed 7 games and only posted 2.5 sacks in 10 games. All in all, pretty bad season for the Giants. They fired their head coach as well. But if you have the franchise guy, which I think everyone in New York believes they have that guy, you're definitely in the C category for me. I don't care if you won 4 games, you had a gauntlet schedule, you found your guy, you had injuries. Let's build on this, and I think next year it's going to look a lot better for them in New York. Also, side note on the Giants, Joe Schoen needs to be fired. This guy's terrible since he was there in 22. He's drafted Thibodeau, Evan Neal, Deontay Banks all in the first, and he's barely gotten any help in the other rounds as well. This guy needs to go. All right, NFC North, we got the Chicago Bears, who went 11-6. I'm giving them an A. They had a top 10 offense. The defense obviously didn't look that good. It took a step back from the year prior with Eberflus. But this is all about Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. We weren't really sure going into the year if Caleb was really that guy. Ben Johnson obviously proved he was. Ben Johnson was able to unlock Caleb. We saw plays of Caleb being a top 5, if not the best quarterback in the world. They upgraded the offensive line tremendously. They had one of the best in the league after it was terrible the year prior. DeAndre Swift had a breakout year. We saw Colston Loveland later in the year take major steps forward. And even Rome Odunze the first half of the year looked pretty solid. Their offense as a whole was absolutely dynamite. It looks like it should be an elite offense moving forward. But the defense, there were some real problems after they did take a step back. They just lack a little bit of talent. They had some injuries as well. But you get a full offseason. You can add some defenders in the draft. I think this team is really well positioned in the future, and it's an A. I mean, I don't think anyone had Chicago doing what they did this year. Next up, we got the Green Bay Packers. They went 9-7-1, second in the division. We're going to give Green Bay a C+. I was tempted to go B-. Jordan Love missed some time. Malik Willis, though, did look damn good when he got in there and played. And then, obviously, the Micah Parsons injury kind of messed everything up for them. When they had Micah in earlier in the season, their defense looked like arguably the best in all of football, and they got some real dogs on defense with Micah, Rashawn Gary, and all them boys, although they may lose Quay Walker to free agency. But the offense looked great at times, too. Jordan Love, I think, really took some steps this year, especially later in the year. But again, the injuries kind of derailed them. They still made the playoffs. They got the 7th seed, on par with expectations, but they were the front runner for the division, so it's a C+ for me. Third place in the divisions, if you didn't know this, kind of shocking, Minnesota Vikings at 9-8. They actually beat out Detroit. I'm giving them a C. Now, with Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy was obviously horrible outside the Dallas game. He really did nothing at all, and that's not saying shit. Dallas may have one of the worst defense we've ever seen. The fact they ended 9-8 just shows how good of a coach KOC is and how close this team is to actually being a legit contender. The defense was once again elite. They were top 10 in scoring defense with Brian Flores at the helm. If they had a real offense backing them up, they might have been one of the best teams in the league, and they actually could have pushed, I think, for the NFC in my mind. Eric Wilson, Brian Cashman were studs at linebacker. Their secondary finished second in pass defense with not a lot of big names there either. So it is a little bit of an older defense. But the fact that you got third and had a winning record with J.J. fucking McCarthy, I'm going to put you in the C. I know some fans want to put them in the D tier because they had higher hopes. But J.J. is literally that bad. So in my mind, KOC, Brian Flores, you coach your asses off. Great freaking job with what you had to work with. You're in the C tier. Last but not least, in the North of the Detroit Lions, they finished 9-8, dead last in the division. I'm giving Detroit a D. I mean, this team was one of the favorites going into this season. Dan Campbell, we all thought was going to steady the ship after losing his coordinators, and clearly that was not the case. We saw Dan Campbell get completely outclassed and outcoached at times, and we saw his, go for him fourth down plays finally regress because they were meant to regress. Those plays aren't sustainable. We've been saying this forever now. The offense was still elite. They were top 5 in scoring offense. Big names were. We know their whole offense. Their defense was 23rd, and I know they had a lot of injuries on the defense, but for the expectations this team had going into the season, it's a D. I mean, they were supposed to win this division. They were supposed to be an NFC frontrunner, and they kind of just fell on their face. So we're bouncing to the NFC South, and our first team up, the 8-9 winner, the Carolina Panthers with little man Bryce Young. I'm going to give them a B-. And I know you're like, oh, dude, how are they not an A? They won the division. They fell into the division. Let's be real. This was one of the worst divisions we've seen in recent memory. They had the 27th ranked scoring offense. Their defense was 19th. And Bryce Young, I know he played good in the playoff game. He was not good for a lot of the regular season. He had 20 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. He had a low air yardage total. He wasn't throwing the ball deep. It was a lot of dinking and dunking, and this offense was really led by Rico Dowdle in the offensive line and the running attack. And I know it was a really good feel-good story for Carolina and Panther fans, but I don't mean to shit on your parade, but I don't think that Bryce Young's ever going to get back to the playoffs. Now, your defense looked good at times. You have some good promising players there. Ted McMillan was an absolute stud. Rico Dowdle, a monster as a Dallas Cowboy fan. I personally did not see that coming. But again, you still had a losing record. You got to the division. You placed the Rams in a really good playoff game, but it's only a B- for me. Second up, Bucks at 8-9. We're going to go with a C- for these boys. Tampa Bay, they started off 6-2, looked really damn good, but they lost 7 of their last 8. This team was the absolute favorite to win this division. A lot of factors played against them. Baker's play fell off, although he was playing hurt a lot of the year. Their offensive line was hurt and inconsistent, and then their receivers were also hurt and inconsistent a lot as well. Tez Johnson at times was the number one for this receiver room, so the offense really never got to gel altogether, and that's why you could put them in the D tier, but I want to give some leadway because of their OC was terrible. With Josh Grizzard, they already fired his ass. He's out of Tampa now. There was no continuity with this group all year. Their defense was also atrocious as well. Outside of Vita Vea, they don't really have many. Vita Vea and Antoine Winfield, they don't really have many X factors, and they really need a new surplus of young talent for this defense. But they were so injury bugged, I'm going to just throw them at a C-. Third team up, Falcons 8-9. We're going to go with the C for Atlanta. This is probably what I expected from them. They had the 24th ranked scoring offense, the 20th ranked scoring defense. Skill position guys were phenomenal. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and hell, even Kyle Pitts, who we all kind of wrote off, were all awesome. The O-line's good. The problem, obviously, on offense is this quarterback, and then also Raheem Morris is out of town now as well. The defense, their secondary played good at times. James Pierce had 10.5 sacks, but the guys are rested now. They're kind of in flux. I don't really know where to put them. C just feels about what they were going to do, and it's kind of what they did. They were right at their projection mark, so we're going to give them a C. New Orleans Saints, 6-11. They had the 28th ranked offense, 15th ranked defense. We're going to go C+ for the Saints. And like my grading with the Saints that I did with New York, they look like they found their guy in Tyler Shuck. And if you look like you might have found your guy, I don't care even if you for sure did. If it looks like you might have, you belong in the C's. And the Saints had the least expectations out of any team in this division. But Tyler Shuck did show real flashes. Their offensive line's decent. They got a few good young tackles. Chris Olave really took a step forward this year. They needed some new running back in play. Their defense was decent. It's a very old defense, though. They need to get some new young talent on there. But really, for my mind, Kellen Moore showed he's capable of being an NFL head coach, and it looks like you might have your franchise quarterback. So we're going to give you a C+. Last NFC division, NFC West, Seattle Seahawks, Super Bowl winner, 14-3. How do you not give them an A+? That's what they get. Sam Darnold had a renaissance year. He was dynamite in the playoffs for him. Mike McDonald looks to be the new Bill Belichick. The offensive line come playoff time was absolute nails. Kenneth Walker nails. JSN had an all-time season. And the defense is one of the best we've literally ever seen. Anyone that's watched any football knows everything about this team. I'm not going to get too deep into it. They're an A+. This is an all-time team. Rams, 12-5. They're going to get an A- for me. Rams had the best scoring offense in the league. They had the 8th-ranked scoring defense. Matthew Stafford obviously won MVP. Adding Devontae Adams looked like a good move. The running back tandem of Kyron and Corn was really good. The offensive line stepped it up this year. They got 2 really nice tackles now that are 24 and 27. Now, the problem was their defense fell off later in the year, and their defense fell off in the playoffs. Their last 5 games, regular season, the defense got gashed. Their defense got gashed against the Panthers and Bryce Young, and their defense got gashed against Sam Darnold, and it really was the deciding factor for them this year. But this team, they still had a really good season. They obviously fell short of expectations, but this was the second best team in football this year. If they beat the Seahawks, they probably win the Super Bowl and get an A+, but they still get an A- in my mind. Third team, San Francisco 49ers. We're going to give them an A. And I know the Rams went farther in the playoffs and their grade was an A-, but San Fran, for what they had to work with, this was Kyle Shanahan's best coaching job we've ever seen in his career. He was still able to produce a top 10 scoring offense with Mac Jones starting a lot of the year, George Kittle going in and out of the lineup, and all of the receivers and really everyone on offense going in and out besides Christian McCaffrey. What he was able to do with this offense was absolutely beautiful. It was an absolutely just masterclass coaching season by Shanny. And then maybe even a bigger masterclass job was Bob Saleh with this defense that ranked in the top half of football in scoring. Bosa, Warner, your rookies, everyone going down, and he still managed to make this group be a bend but don't break unit and a respectable unit, not an elite unit by any means, but when you lose all of your guys and you can still go 12-5 and have respectable groups, it's an A. The coaching was out of this world, and they're McCaffrey, Purdy when he came back, Shanny, Bob, they all just did their job to a T. All right, last team in this division, we got Arizona Cardinals. It's a fucking F. 3-14th, 29th ranked defense, 23rd offense. This team obviously wasn't supposed to be good by any means of the imagination, but Jacoby Brissett started most of the year for him, was probably outside of Michael Wilson, their only bright spot, which is sad because he's gone now too, most likely. Jonathan Gannon, he was weird when he got there. They held on to him. He's out now. Kyler looks to be on his way out. And I'm out on Marvin Harrison, man. I think he's closer to a bust than being a stud at this point. James Conner, their running back, career might be done. Walter Nolan, honestly, was one of their only bright spots, and the guy only played a couple of games on defense, but he did flash some talent. There's nothing to take away as a Cardinal fan to be happy about. It was a dumpster fire. I'm sorry if you're a Cardinal fan. All right, popping over to the AFC, we got the New England Patriots in the AFC East, 14-3. They're getting an A+. Second best scoring offense, fifth ranked scoring defense. I know they got their ass handed to them in the Super Bowl, but let's not disregard what Mike Vrabel and Drake May did this season. And yes, they did have the easiest schedule in all of the NFL, but this team was an elite regular season team, and they could only play the teams they're dealt, and they took belt to ass against those teams they were dealt with. Drake May obviously took huge steps in looking like to be an elite franchise quarterback. The defense showed real poise, and while there's not a lot of big names on this team anywhere, they're just really solid, and they still got a lot of holes to be filled, but Christian Gonzalez also emerged as arguably the best defender in all of football, and Mike Vrabel looks to be one of the best coaching hires we've ever seen. It's an A+ all around. You can't not say it's an A+. I know New England fans, you got your ass kicked in the Super Bowl, but you can't tell me you weren't happy about this season. Buffalo Bills, 12-5. They're going to get a B-. Now, Buffalo, 4th-ranked scoring offense, 12th-ranked scoring defense, fell short in the playoffs, but what are you going to do if you're Buffalo? I mean, Josh Allen can only take you so far, and I know Josh Allen did not play great in the playoff game, but when you're having to throw to Brandon Cooks with the season on the line, a guy that's gotten passed around like an old broad at a college fraternity party, what are you supposed to do, man? And now Joe Brady's in there. But anyways, from the regular season, it's a B-. They went 12-5. They won a playoff game. They definitely fell short of their expectations in the playoffs, but you know, Josh can only do so much, and this team was outgunned, just to put it bluntly. I'm not going to get in too deep. It's just, this feels like a repetitive theme here for Buffalo. Dolphins, 7-10. They're getting a D+. Tua played absolutely horrible, and it looks like they may need a new quarterback change coming in, or Quinn Ewers might be starting. Shout out our boyfriend of the pod. Go check him out. A-Chain, at least established like one of the best players in the whole NFL. But outside of him, they need some real help badly at wide receiver and tight end. Jalen Waddle, a good year, but we saw the corpse of Darren Waller running around with his head cut off, pulling a hammy every other play. I don't even know what the plan was there. Their offensive line was actually shockingly decent, even though there's not a lot of big names on it. Jordan Brooks, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Bradley Chubb were all good, but outside of them, this defense obviously needs a ton of help. Mike McDaniel's gone now, obviously. They won 7 games, yes, but this was a dumpster fire season, and I feel like a D+ is honestly generous. New York Jets, 3-14, a season from hell. They ranked 29th in scoring offense, 30th in scoring defense, but their front office folded their hand and they traded their guys for some draft capital, and I think for me that's going to save their season grade, and I'm going to give them a D+, because the Jets could have stand pat and held on to Sauce and Quinn and all these guys and said, we'll try to build around these guys, build a culture. But they didn't, and they traded them. They got some draft compensation, and I think it's a smart move. And I think a lot of teams that just suck like this, they don't fold their hand early enough, and I at least tip my cap to them for doing that. And also, sneaky move for the Jets. This is my theory. I think they hired Aaron Glenn, and they're going to let him run out this next season and then just fire him and go draft a quarterback and bring in a new head coach. And I kind of like it if I'm a Jets fan, and honestly, just from my perspective. But, yeah, all in all, the season was fucking terrible. The play was terrible. They only won 3 games. Breece Hall was good. Garrett Wilson, when he played, was good. There's not much to write home. Their tackles looked really good, but, I mean, season from hell, D+. All right, AFC North, Pittsburgh Steelers took home this division 9-7. Again, it's a C+. It's probably right where we had Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers kind of looked like a shell of himself. DK Metcalf had some splash plays. The offensive line was actually surprisingly pretty decent. Same thing with the defensive line, especially when TJ Watt got back in there. But their inside linebacking play was fucking terrible. And now Mike Tomlin's gone. I mean, this team, what's the direction? Take a shit or get out the toilet. I like to say that, and this is the team that needs to do it. It's just a C+. They still did win the division. They hosted a playoff game, but let's move it on, guys. Let's pack this shit up. And now they bring in Mike McCarthy. God bless him. All right, second place, we got the Ravens at 8-9. They get an F. Harbaugh's obviously gone now. They ranked bottom 3 in sacks. Marlon Humphrey was bad. The offensive line was bad. The wide receivers were bad. Derrick Henry, Kyle Hamilton, and Roquan Smith were really their only good players all season. Baltimore, they had the chance to beat Aaron Rodgers not once but twice. Lamar still couldn't do it. The team couldn't do it. This was a team that was a Super Bowl favorite going into this year, and they just took a big old stinky poop right in their drawers. It's an F, brother. Cincy 6-11. This is a D. We all know the story here with Cincinnati. Joe Burrow was awesome. Jamar was awesome. T, when he played, was awesome. Chase Brown, when they got Joe back, was awesome. The defense was a bag of absolute flaming hot dog shit. It couldn't stop a JV high school quarterback probably if it wanted to. And Zach Taylor, I don't know what they're doing. He doesn't look to be the guy at all by this point, but for some reason, they're still sticking him around, but they're in the D+. This team, if Joe doesn't go down, they might have competed. They might have snuck in the wild card round. I don't know. I don't care. It was a bad season. I hate the direction. I hate the front office. Their GM's been there since 91, and they got an absolute joke of a front office. And this was just a bad loss season and another year wasted of Joe Burrow's prime. All right, last place in the division, Browns 5-12. Their draft saved them, and they're going to get a C-. This team, we didn't really have any expectations going into this season. At least we're kind of removed from the Deshaun Watson ticklish massage scenario a little bit, but then they bring in Shador. Stefanski's gone now, but this team had a home run draft. They got Schweizinger in the second. Mason Graham looks to be a stud. Harold Fannin, Shador, Quinshawn. It's an all-time potential draft class, and that's the reason I'm giving them the grade that they did. The offense on the field this year was terrible. The defense, though, in Myles Garrett was actually pretty damn good, and I think if they could have a competent offense with them, they could actually give them a breather and control the ball and play competent football. This defense has the chance next year to be top 5 if the offense can do anything, which is a big question mark still. All right, AFC South, Jacksonville Jaguars, 13-4, giving them an A. Jacksonville top 6 in offense, top 9 in defense. They definitely found their guy in Liam Cohen, and Trevor Lawrence had his best season to date. In the last 8 games, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And even with his receivers leading the NFL in drops, he still put up that shit. Jacoby Myers looked like a really good offseason addition. Their defense, very slept on and borderline elite at times as well. Jacksonville, we didn't really have any expectations going into the season for this team. And Liam Cohen, we surely didn't have any expectations. They surely exceeded every metric that we could have dreamed of. They're an A. Texans 12-5, they're going to get an A as well. The Texans offense still ranked top 12 in scoring. I know C.J. Stroud was a bag of dicks in the playoffs, but through the regular season, it was still a decent offense. Their defense, though, is obviously the real story here. The number 1 ranked scoring defense in football, and one of the more dominating, terrifying defenses we've seen in quite some time. And this team, a little bit through the season, C.J. gets hurt. Longneck Mills comes in. It looks like it was going to be a disaster, and Mills goes 4-1. CJ comes back. They get in the playoffs. I know the playoffs, they shit their pants, and we all know what happened there. CJ was terrible. But for the regular season, in my grade, D'Amico established himself as a borderline elite head coach, and the defense looks like an all-timer. It's an A. Indianapolis Colts went 8-9. This is a C. This is kind of right where we had them probably going into the season. Halfway through the year, this looked like the Cinderella team. This looked like America's team. Daniel Jones was boy wonder. It was so much fun. Jonathan Taylor was on pace to have one of the best fantasy seasons of all times, and then it obviously all just went crashing down right when they made this Sauce Gardner trade too. Shane Steichen only held it up for so long. Once Danny went out, it was bad, but I'm sure Colts fans were having fun the first half of that season. But you finish 8-9. Your weapons showed some promise. Tyler Warren looked awesome. Pittman, Downs, Alec Pierce had a really good year. The offensive line was nails, but you fell short, and it sucks. It's just a C. All right, last team in the South, we got Tennessee Titans, 3-4 team. This team stunk, and they get an F. This team ranked 30th in offense, 28th in defense, and this is a complete F from the top to the bottom. The fact that this team went in with Chamire Dyke, Alika Eomanor, and Tony Pollard, Chamire Chigakonkwo as Cam Ward's weapons and thought that he could be set up for any sort of success just blows my mind. And then their head coach going after, 5-6 games. Their defense outside of Jeffrey Simmons, bag of dicks, was terrible. Calvin Ridley was one of the biggest jokes of the season. The guy quit on his team. I feel bad for Cam Ward. I don't think he was a big reason behind this. I think Cam Ward's actually going to be good, and I actually do think Cam Ward will be the guy for Tennessee going into the future, but this is an F. I mean, it was atrocious. All right, last division for our grades from this season. We got the AFC West, Denver Broncos 14-3. This is an A+. Denver top 11 scoring offense, 4th ranked scoring defense. This team had the best trenches unit in the NFL. Their offensive line, defensive line, absolutely nasty. Bo Nix, at times, he didn't look elite, but he looked really good in the playoff game, and he played better late in the season, and they know they have their guy in Bo Nix, and they know they have an insane, nasty defense with dogs literally everywhere, man. And they got some nice badass weapons with Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, Sutton on offense. You know, they got J.K. had a really good year. R.J. Harvey had some good splash plays, but no one had Denver being this damn good. I know I didn't, and it gets an A+. This is a team, if Bo doesn't go down, this team probably would have been a Super Bowl, might have won the Super Bowl. So it's an A+ for Denver. Chargers 11-6, second in the division. They get a C+. Now, I know Justin Herbert and the offensive line took a fat dump in their pants in the playoff game, but this team still won 11 games. They had a good regular season. They made the playoffs. Their defense was top 7 with Jesse Minter. It was a really good, borderline elite defense. The offense didn't look very good, and it got stale at times. And I know the offensive line got all banged up, but they got a lot of old weapons on there. Rondé Gaz didn't look good at times. Keenan Allen was good in limited sample sizes. Same thing with Quentin Johnson. But Herbert just really didn't take a step, and people want to blame the offensive line. Sure, go ahead. But at a certain point, when you're 3 or 4 years removed from having a productive, borderline elite season, and the media wants to put you in a top 5, top 6 quarterback in their lenses, I'm going to start pointing my finger at you. And I'm pointing that finger at Justin Herbert, but I'm still going to give them this grade because they did win 11 games and they did make the playoffs. All right, Chiefs 6-11. It's an F. There's no other way to split this. Their offense started off the year pretty hot. Patty was throwing up some good numbers, but this team had no resemblance of a running game whatsoever. Their offensive line got beat up at times. Xavier Worthy didn't take the next step. Kelsey looks like a shell of himself, and Rashee Rice, well, he did look good in small sample sizes. He might be going to jail. Who really knows what the deal is there? The defense still ranked top 6, but when Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL and you win 6 games in the Andy Reid Mahomes era, it's an F. It was a season from hell. We'll see if Patty gets back healthy next year. All right, and our last team on this player grade, I hope y'all have enjoyed watching this video, and probably the least worthy team of a grade is the Las Vegas Raiders, 3-14. This is an F-. For them to go and draft Ashton Jeanty with how bad their offensive line is, and then say, we're going to bring Geno Smith in, he's probably going to be good, and then we're going to bring 90-year-old fucking senior citizen Pete Carroll and just pray to God it works, was actually hilarious, and I'm not shocked at all by any means that it fell on their face. This team personnel-wise on defense and offensive line is trash. Their receiver room is trash. Outside of Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty, they have nothing on offense, and I kind of felt bad for Geno, even though his play was terrible too. They had no real plan going into this season. I think they were just trying to sell tickets, get Vegas excited with Pete and Geno, who had some success together in Seattle. But it was a joke season. They looked like a JV versus varsity team against a lot of these teams at times. It's an F. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more content like this, please follow, like, subscribe, the whole deal. Love y'all. Thank you, pal.